Alright, y'all. I'm on my way to the barber shop to chop off this hair. I don't know if we're gonna shave it or we're gonna do a size 0. Right now, as I look at the camera, I already look bald. Like, you can't even see my hair, so it's nothing really new. But I'm nervous because I haven't cut my hair or the length of my hair since like 6 years. I'm like nervous about that because it's like there's a bit of attachment of the length of the hair, you know. What's motivating me is just like the baldness when I have my hair down. I'm just like tired of hiding it. Like I'm just tired of just tying my hair up to cover the crown balding, and then you can see I'm balding here already. So I just do that shit. The feeling of regret I was like thinking like, oh, why did I cut it? I don't want to have that feeling. That's the nervous thing about it. But I'm never gonna really understand that feeling until I actually do it. So if I don't do it, I'm never gonna know. So I'm doing it now. 2020.
Really?
Yeah. Here we go.
I cut my braids off. I had it for 11 years, bro. I was ready. I'm almost ready for these dreads too. Oh, bullshit club. I said, come on home. You don't want me if I still have my shit where I cut it. You don't want that smoke, man. You don't want that wave smoke. Ooh, you don't want that wave smoke, nigga. You like the science. He said, come on home. Come on home, well. I showed y'all niggas the pictures there when I had them waves smoke.
Damn.
You feel it?
Yeah, I feel it.
Shit light as hell now, ain't it?
Hell yeah.
You're like, man, I can move my head. Why wait till you go outside? You can be like, fuck.
I'm free.
Bro, when I cut my braids for 11 years, I cut them off in October. That was the coldest winter time, man.
Damn.
You in the middle of the winter too. It's gonna get crazy cold.
I wear hats.
Smart man.
Oh, I gotta come over now?
Actually ain't that bad.
Always. My birthday in February. Always. My birthday next month. I already know it ain't never nice around my birthday. Hell.
This is what life's about, man. So yesterday I had one of my homies cut my hair, as you can see. He tried to, I think he put like a size 1 on top, and then he did a fade in the side, but I didn't like the way it ended up looking. You can still see a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can cut it shorter so I can blend in. And if not, it's time to shave, baby. But yeah, this is how it ends up looking. So let's see what I can do. My name is Lorenzo. I started noticing the hair loss when I turned like 2021. You know, at first I thought it was like a phase. Like, you know, I was like, oh, maybe I'm too stressed out, or maybe it's what I'm eating, or it could, I brushed it off, you know. I didn't think too much of it because I felt like if I worried more, I would be more concerned about it and more conscious. So I brushed it off, you know, and as I started to get older, like I started like to get a receding hairline, like, and I started noticing here, and I'm like, and then gradually when I started getting haircuts, like I started to see more crowning in the back, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, okay, so it's happening at an early age. And I was just like thinking, why at an early age? You know, I always thought myself like going bald like maybe in my late 30s maybe, but I didn't think it would occur at such an early age. I'm not sure if, like, you know, with genetics, I don't know if it's like was stress induced. But to be honest though, I started losing hair when one of my best friends passed away. So I think that might have been a factor, because I did go into like this pool of emotions and in a very dark place. But thankfully I'm out of there, And I definitely do believe that that had some factor to the hair loss.
So for you, was it like gradually thing, or was there things that you were noticing, like maybe like when you were washing your hair, you'd notice more, or you know, people talk about it like being on the pillow, or when they go to like style it, they realize like, oh, I kind of can't style it the same as I used to, or can you kind of
Right,
remember at all, like the things
right.
you were noticing at all?
Okay, so when I first started losing hair, or I started noticing, I had short hair. I had like a mohawk, right? And you could tell that I was starting to have a receding hairline. I noticed that when I showered, like I saw more hair in my hands, like when I was washing it. And oh, when I started to notice it even more is when I dry my hair and I look at my towel and it's like a bunch of hair and I'm like, whoa. When that happened, that actually made me more insecure. So I decided to grow out the hair. You know,
Right. Yeah.
like that was my instinct, you know, because I'm like, wait a minute, man, like this shouldn't be happening. Like like at that time I was like 21, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna grow out my hair. And I think around that time too, I think the man buns were like popular, or like they're on the rise. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'll just get a hair bun. And then uh when I started to grow out my hair, the more I was losing hair, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
uh,
I bet you noticed it way more as well. Like when the hairs are longer, you like were seeing the hairs way more. Dude, I was the exact same. That's, you know, I can heavily relate. I tried a last ditch effort. I was like, if this hair's gonna go, because not because I saw it was I was losing it, but because I was like getting older, and I was like, if my hair's gonna go, I want one last ditch effort. Like I've never done the man
exactly.
bun. Yeah, like I've never done the man
Yeah,
bun. Let's give it a go. And yeah, it was like, oh, that was like the final hurrah for the hair, you know?
exactly. It's like that's the same way I thought. I was just thinking, okay, like it's now or never. It's like if I'm gonna grow my hair, it should be now, because maybe in the near future I'm not gonna be able to grow it the way I want to. That was definitely a main reason to grow out the hair, is to hide the baldness and to have it grow out. You know, like it's like you said, the last hoorah. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's definitely one of those reasons. Yep.
So during these years, then we're talking early 20s into your mid 20s. How is it? You know, you're noticing it's kind of thinning out, trying some different hairstyles. But did you notice it like affecting you in other ways? Like you know, we talk about the classics, like kind of feeling less confident, or maybe
Mhm.
like in social situations, not feeling as comfortable, avoiding certain activities. Like a lot of people, they don't want to be going swimming anymore, or like
Right.
they're real conscious things like that. How about for yourself? Did you experience any things like that?
Yeah. I do remember like being at home. When I would have my hair down, of course, it was very obvious that I was balding, especially in the crown area. Um, I was very self-conscious of having us not having someone behind me. Like if I had someone behind me, I would just be like I would just feel very self-conscious, you know. And right away, I would just like make my way and turn around, you know, or do something to cover it. One thing though I never did was wear hats, like because I
Mm.
thought wearing hats didn't help. You know, I feel like it suffocates your head. So I definitely avoided hats the majority of the time, but I definitely felt very self-conscious when someone was behind me. And I think the more I had to deal with that, the more I was getting tired. I'm just like, this is like old. Like I'm just thinking, like this isn't even worth like my energy to even worry about, you know. Then that was when I was leading to the point where I am now. You know, I think when I started to think like that when I was maybe like 25, you know. And like I said, as my hair grew longer, the more I was losing hair. So I felt like I was just milking out the time that I had for having that length of hair. I definitely always kept my hair on a head bun, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely always.
It's something that was really interesting when you use the phrase like you just began to be growing tired of it, and like recognizing like all the sort of negative energy and stuff like built up on it, and becoming frustrated with that. No, it's actually crazy how similar our sort of experiences are, because that was the thing that led me to say like, look, I gotta act on this, and I gotta put this behind me, like, because this just isn't worth it anymore, you know. And a bit like what you
Yeah.
said with the hats, like maybe like just making the problem worse. I kind of felt like that about all of the so-called solutions that are out there. You know, I was just like, I was just tired of the hair loss thing, like as a whole. You know, I didn't want to like go further down this road of like, you know, what can I do? How can I stop it? Can I even stop it? And it was just like that
Right.
whole thing is it's like you can bunch it all together, like feeling bad about the hair, trying to do all sorts of things to get through it, to, you know, to like make it return to how it once was. If you can put that all in one like basket, I just wanted to be done with all of that. You know, I was
Yeah.
so tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned about like, you know, going online looking for like, you know, solutions, whatever
Oh
road.
yeah. Oh
So you're getting to like 24, 25 now, and you said, you know, you were becoming more self-conscious. And yeah, how did the story go on from there then?
yeah. Yeah. So now that you mentioned like finding the solutions, I did go through a phase where I'm like, like I was obsessed with it almost. I'm like, okay, like I really have to. How do I reverse this? You know, how do I help it slow it down at least? And there is, you know, of course, the internet nowadays has a bunch of stuff out there, like pills. Like that's one thing I never took is like pills, stuff like that. But I was definitely into like biotin. I was definitely into like even plant like herbs like ashwagandha. I heard that was good for your head,
Yeah.
and I took that for a while, and I felt like it did help. Oh, saw palmetto, that also helped a lot
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that helped a lot, and I think all it did was slow it down. It didn't actually reverse anything. I even started making like my own shampoo. It was basically organic, and you know I was doing that, so that was more work. You know, making my shampoo, and then I had to do it like maybe every other week to keep it fresh, and then that was kind of I was getting tired of it, so it came to a point where I just stopped. And then I think around that time when I was like 25, I was just like, okay, now it's time to really think about cutting the hair. And I was just thinking, okay, what can I do to get over that challenge, or to get over that attachment, you know? And I just started to see the benefits more. I started seeing the advantages rather than the disadvantages, because especially like my hair got really long. Like it got to the point where it was like past my shoulders.
Oh
If I
wow.
bring it all, yeah, yeah, it was pretty long, and I felt like it was a lot to maintain, especially in the shower. Like I had to like really get in there and take my time with it, and I had to be very careful with drying my hair too, is because you know they recommended me to not scrub so hard when you dry your hair.
Yeah.
If anything, let your hair air dry, and that's what I always did, and that's more time, and then just like it was like I was just doing extra work to hide something that I shouldn't even be hiding. You know what I mean? Like it was just so much work for something so small, you know, like
Mm.
something so like something that shouldn't even be energy draining. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. At the
Um,
time, in that moment when you're, you know, doing all these things, um, and by the way, like, you know, I can completely understand all of that stuff. Like, I think back to how I felt about it at the time, and I can completely relate and completely see why people do all of those things. You know, like
yeah,
my thing was just like how I behaved. Like I was doing crazy irrational behaviors, like but like you mentioned, like not wanting anyone to stand behind me. I would stare at the floor so that no one could see the crown, you know, just not
oh,
normal things. So that was like my version of, you know, your like shampoo routines and things like that. But
right,
I do remember when I would dry my hair, I would be so careful because I would just think like, oh, well, if I've got the towel and I'm going like that, I'm just going to make it fall out faster, you know, and that may or may not be a real thing, but in my head it was, you know. So during
right.
this time in that moment, why do you think you felt like you, or can you kind of explain why do you think you felt like you needed to do those things, you know, um in order to kind
Oh,
of preserve the hair? Like what sort of emotions or fears or thoughts are going through your head as to like lead you to doing
right.
those things?
I think a pivotal point to when I started really feeling insecure, like super really insecure, was when I started making my own shampoo, and then I was just like, okay, I have to really do something about this, you know. And what I was going through emotionally, I was just it definitely affected my self-esteem. Um, and to be honest, though, I think uh, hiding it was obvious, you know, and I think that didn't help either with when it comes to like my emotional state. You know, I was just thinking, okay, I'm good. I have my hair tied, you know, but I was still like had a big hair receding hairline there, and then it was starting to look awkward, and I think that was another reason why I had to cut it too, because I was like, it's about that time. I started to realize that hiding it didn't, like hiding the baldness didn't help with my self-esteem either. Like it was actually making it worse because, like I said, the hiding of it was obvious, you know? So I think that is when I started to overcome it and I accepted it. I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
so what I would like to think is when I turned 25, like 26, that was around the time I was like, I'm like, yeah, I'm leading to that point where I accepted it, and then I was just like, okay, now it's just time to not get attached to the length of the hair, you know, because that was another thing that I was struggling with to actually cut it was the length of the hair, and I'm just like, oh, it's so long, like this is like 5 years that I'm cutting, you know, and I finally reached to that point. I'm 27 now. I actually cut my hair on my birthday when I turned 27. So I think when I was 25 and 26, I was already over it. I was just accepted. I'm just like, you know what? like I'm done like being afraid. I'm done with like doing this extra work for what? Just to protect my self-esteem. It's just like when you accept everything that had happened, especially like with your hair, life becomes easier. That's the way I looked at it. And ever since then, like uh I've just been way like in a way better place, you know, way better place. Like
It seems like obviously, and I'm sorry to hear about what happened with your friend and that
thank you,
situation.
thank you.
I can imagine that the blow of like that and dealing with that,
Yeah,
it's like I guess the hair having to deal with that, it just seems like, oh, this is another thing that I've got to deal with now that's getting me down, and I can imagine that it was eventually when you said you're getting to the point of 25, like you're probably getting to the point of as we kind of mentioned before, like frustration with it. Like I talk about the rock bottom, it's like when you're in that space where you're so fed up with the hair and just feeling shitty about it, and you said like your self-esteem's low. It's almost like that's the starting point to like getting past it. Do you know what I mean? It's like in a weird, like in a like messed up sadistic way, you've almost got to get to that rock bottom that's the thing that makes you decide like, hey, I don't want to stay here anymore. Like I need to be doing something. And the current routine that I'm doing with the hairstyles and all the other things that I'm using, the like behaviors, that's not helping. That's not what I'm doing now, is not making me feel better. So I need to really like change this up. And you said that was the point where you kind of began to think more, hey, maybe if I just accept this, and when the point comes, just kind of take that hair off, I'm just going to do it. And is that kind of how it went from that point
pretty
on?
much, pretty much. Like I think the fact that I was still losing hair, that it also played a role. It's just like, man, like there's no point of keeping it now because it's just like uh it goes back to accepting it. You know, I think when I started balding, I had a hard time accepting it because I'm like, man, like I always picture myself having long hair since like until I was like, you know, older. And uh when it goes back to at that age, it's like, you know, I've seen other guys that lose hair even earlier at an earlier stage. And I thought that was like very interesting. I always thought I was like, wow, that's so I'm not even that young to lose hair, you know, compared. It was to a point where I was done being afraid, and then I had focused more on just getting detached from the length of the hair. And I think hiding is just exhausting. Um, and I think when you're still hiding, you're still failing to accept what is happening to you, you know. And you start to forget when you focus on things that are negative, like you start to focus too much on it, and then you start to lose track on what really matters. I started to think like what really matters is my health. Like I'm healthy, you know, like yeah, I'm losing hair, but it's like I'm still stable, like I'm still, you know, have a good sense of health. And when it came to overcoming that fear, I think it goes back to what you're saying. It goes back to like breaking your limit of being tired of doing all that work and hiding it. I think being tired of it really influenced your decision on just cutting it, because like it's say for instance, if I were to cut my hair prematurely before I even like accepted it, I would probably be wearing hats. I would probably be like wearing hats, you know, still hiding it. Uh, but now that I took my time with it, that, you know, I didn't cut it too early or too soon. I think that definitely helped with like the transition, you know, of accepting it and stop being afraid. Because like I said, I think just hiding things from the way they are is very like draining, you know. And I think I was just tired of it, so to the point I'm just like, you know what, I'm not, I'm over it. Like it's just time to move forward.
Had guys speak to guys who like wake up before work like 2-3 hours early, you know, so that they can go through all these crazy routines and that. You almost have to do that for a certain amount of time and realize how it's like affecting your life negatively, and you're not even progressing. Like it's not making your situation any better. You're just desperately trying to hold on to what once was. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
as much as when I describe it, it sounds so like it sucks, but sometimes you have to kind of do that to realize, you know,
Yeah.
what you're doing. It's almost like gives you that like third person point of view, you know. When you're in it, and that was a good point, when you're in it, you kind of can't see clearly, you know. You lose sight, you lose track, like you said,
Yeah.
of things that you actually do have, that you are good at, that you've got going on, because of all the fear and whatnot around the sort of hair and that situation.
Yeah.
Really good point. You lose sight of all the stuff that you do have. And
Yeah.
I think when you take things back and you hit that reset with the head shave, again, one of the reasons why it feels so damn good is because you get that reality check. And because you're taking that something away, you then have to kind of, again, reflect and look at, okay, what do I have, you know? Like, and you just realize really clearly, like, look at all these things that I do have going for me, that I do have got going on, you know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful things about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to touch on those. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you don't like, or anyone on here, I'm pretty sure no one should bash anyone for you know, trying to reverse what's occurring on their head, you know, because I feel like a part of it is also the process of accepting it, you know. I think it's worth a try, you know, to see what you can do to prevent it from your hair keeps falling off, you know. But I think it's definitely like part of that process. I was gonna say therapeutical, but
Yeah.
in a sense of like, you know, transitioning, I guess. I really do believe that that plays a role within
Yeah.
it.
And
So,
you know, you have to do what you have to do in order to accept it, right? In order to accept it. I think on the flip side of that, I've had guys done like interviews with, who, in order to accept it, they went like I think to an extent I did a little bit of this. It's like, you when you like shave it off, you might not have still like accepted it, right? You've shaved it off like quite early, like I did. And
uh-huh.
then I like fully lent into it, almost like, I don't want to say fake, but you know, I was just like, I was like creating this new image for myself. I was like,
uh,
I took pride in the fact that I was doing it, you know, or like how I did go about it, because like a lot of people around me were telling me like not to do it. I think that's what it was. They were like, no, 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 don't do that, don't do that. And as like a big like F you, I just did it, you know. And I kind of
yeah.
like I kind of like took pride in that, and that's like what, yeah, that just helped me. But yeah, there's just different way. Moral of the story: there's all different ways about coming to the conclusion,
Exactly.
right?
Right. Everyone has their own pace. You know,
Yeah,
everyone has their own ways of coping with stress, coping with, you know, their self-image, their self-esteem. Everyone has their different ways, you know, and it's as long as they don't hurt themselves on the process, then I say I'll go for it. But if it comes to a point where we're like me and you, or you just shave that. Can you cuss on here or
yeah,
no?
yeah. You can, man. It's all good.
Okay. When you shave that shit, you're done. Like you're set. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Literally.
you start to look forward to different things now. Your focus is not so much on that now. Your focus is on things that you want to manifest. You know. So yeah,
I
definitely.
Before I forget, one thing we can, like, I'd like to just discuss a little bit is the music and things like that. Like you said, you know, it's like a, I guess, like a side hustle, or that's your actual passion. It is music, right? You said like hip hop, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Hip hop. Correct.
Did you, and I did another video about recently about like switching your focus away from like the hair, and some guys do it like afterwards. So like obviously I know you started this stuff like before, but again, that seems to be something like when you once you've dealt with the hair situation and you've just like got rid of it, shaved it off, you then suddenly have time for all things like this, and not just time but energy, you know. And for some people, like I say, hey, listen, if you're struggling to build up the courage to just take it off, then start things like that, you know, like lean into the passions, like just forget about the hair for a minute and just completely try to focus on something else that you're interested in. And once you start to like build progress in that thing, it will like motivate you, and that like energy will spill over back onto the hair, and you'll be like, listen, I'm doing this stuff now. I don't have time for this hair to be keep coming into the back of my mind, like ruining what I'm doing with this stuff, you know. So let's just get rid of that bitch and crack on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Right. Exactly.
but before we get there with talking about that with yourself, let's discuss a little bit about when, you know, the moment you decided like, hey, let's take this off now.
I decided to cut my hair January 3rd on my birthday, my 27th birthday. And because it was 2020, you know, me being optimistic, I'm like, you know, new decade, 27, you know, might as well get a new look, get a new mindset, you know. But unfortunately, how things are looking is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
But I still have that sense of mindset though, is I think honestly, I think cutting the hair was just it like boosted up my self-esteem, and I think it was just I kind of looked at it as a spiritual journey, if you will, because I was so attached to it, to like the length of the hair, that I was just like, it was like holding me back, you know, from being to the person that I should be. When I turned 26, it was around that time where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it. I kept telling everyone, hey, I'm gonna cut my hair, and they were like, okay, when? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm gonna cut it. And I kept saying that and saying that, and they're getting tired of me saying it. So I think that helped me, you know, actually do it. And when I told myself, okay, I'm gonna do it on my 27th birthday, and of course, I think in the video, one of the videos I sent you, I was explaining to I explained to everyone my thought process of like my attachment to the hair and how nervous I was. Um, I was definitely like nervous as hell when I heard like the buzzer, or like the buzzer going, or like the clippers going off. I'm just like, oh my God, here we go. And uh, as soon as he did it, I just felt this weight. You know, it's not just the hair, but like I think it was like a spiritual weight off my shoulders, where it's just like, man, like I can be my true self, you know, like who I'm supposed to be. One of my homies, he cut my hair, but he did like a fade and, you know, on the sides. And he did it. He was basically trying to like still keep it fresh, quote unquote. Um, but I didn't like the way it looked. It just looked like I was still trying to keep it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I was trying to, funny story. So I was trying to basically blend everything the way it was, right? But I didn't have any clippers. I had the clippers for the beard. And I didn't realize that those clippers, they don't cut the same as size 0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I try to blend it, it literally just like cut through my hairline. I'm just like, oh, okay. I had to stop what I was doing, jump in the shower, and just shaved it. I just shaved it. There was no turning back there, because I used the wrong clippers, and the clippers just went right through my hairline. So I'm just like, well, whatever's left of it anyway.
Yeah.
And and I gotta tell you, like when I shaved it in the shower, that was like one of the most like relieving feelings like ever, because it was just so satisfying is what I meant to say. It was very satisfying. It felt very weird though, like shaving your head for the first time. It felt very rough on your skin. I'm just like, whoa, how does Harry do this? I'm like, how does he do this like every 3 days? It was pretty epic. I felt very liberated when I did it. I thought I was gonna have like I was gonna get like sad. I was gonna get, oh, why did I do it? No, it was straight on. Oh my God, I'm so glad I did it. Why didn't I do it a long time ago? That's the attitude I had. And ever since then, I felt like my self-esteem was just up. Even if I let my hair grow out a little bit, you can still see a little crowning. It just doesn't really affect me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I think if I ever do cut it, it's just, to keep fresh, to have a good hygiene.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I haven't really tested the waters of like engaging with like in social gatherings, like with women and stuff like that, because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, I think when women see that, or anyone, when they see that you shaved your head, or you're okay with being bald, they actually like that. You are more attractive that way, which is, I wish I knew from the get-go, but we all have to go through that process of accepting of the way things are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So uh, I definitely do. I am more confident for sure, like no doubt about that. Like with the hair loss, as compared to when I had long hair, it's definitely a big change, and I'm just so glad that I did it. I think sometimes I think back, I'm like, I should have done it sooner, so I wouldn't have to be in that dark place anymore. But like we were talking about, like we all have our pace, we all have our ways of accepting it, or ways of trying to prevent it. And if it doesn't work out, then hey, everyone can go through that, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's all a learning. It's all a learning experience. But it's like, as you've experienced these things, one of the we can talk about it all day, but those are they really are kind of things you have to experience yourself to kind of really know what it means. Or loads of guys on the channel have kind of talked about, that weight off the shoulders, the free feeling, like just the new energy you get from not having to worry about that damn hair falling out anymore. Those are kind of things you have to actually feel it, do it, and feel it to really know what that means. And
Exactly.
no, when you talk about people, how they react, and obviously we kind of build it up in our mind, like how you're gonna hate it, it's gonna look terrible, people are gonna be like, oh man, you look like way worse, like you look really old, or I think I'm gonna look old, all of that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's like, regardless of the look, like regardless of how it looks, you made a really good point, regardless of how it looks, people can see a guy, let's being specific on the whole, like shaving your head if you're losing your hair, people see that a guy who, he's made the decision, he's comfortable in himself, um he's not trying to hide anything, just full comfort in who he is, what he's about, what he's doing. And that just speaks volumes, that like really shows these people like, you've got your shit together, you know what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
For lack
Yeah.
of a better phrase. I'm not sure how else to describe it. And especially, yeah, with women and whatnot, that is a real thing. Like, if
Yes.
you're just being yourself, yeah, some women are gonna like the way you look. Some women aren't gonna like the way you look. Exactly how it was when you had hair. Some women would have been attracted to you. Some women wouldn't have been attracted to you. It's the
Yes.
same deal.
Right.
One thing that definitely doesn't happen is no woman looks at a bald man and be like, oh, he look like, especially if you can talk about it and you just be about it. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, that dude looks so like insecure in himself, or he looks like really hates that, people just see it. And especially when you can talk to them, whatever. And they're just like, damn, like, fair play. Like, you're being about it. You're rocking it. Like, you doing you. And even it's not often it doesn't even need to be said. Like, it's just known. Like, you don't even have to like use your mouth to communicate that. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
it's just a thing. It's a bit like when you see anyone who's like, I don't know, rocking a beard the same as you, or I see you got some like earrings going on. You might see another dude with the same thing, or the shaved head, and you just give him a little like nod. You're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You've got that. You don't even need to say it. Like, everyone knows what you're trying to say. I love that about it.
It definitely gives you a presence.
Yeah.
It gives you a presence, and I wish I was able to experience it more, socially. But from what I've seen thus far, since I cut my hair, I have been getting more like different reactions, of what they perceive me as. Some people perceive me more serious, more like, oh, don't mess with that guy, he's got a beard and he's bald, like, oh, like that. But I'm a chill dude. Like, I never look for any conflict, but I would get reactions like that. I would get these eyes, these looks from other women, older women too. Apparently that's attractive too. But it goes back to the presence, man. It definitely speaks. It speaks for you. It speaks for you to when you're okay, when you're fine with the way you look. And if people don't like it, the thing about it, when people don't like it, you're still gonna be fine, because you are comfortable under your own skin. That's the beauty of it. Like, not everyone has to like the way it looks. As long as you like it, you're golden. That's the way I started to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely right. It's you couldn't have said it better myself, dude. It's like, once you're and that's the thing, actually. Once you're comfortable and happy with it, and you feel good, it's like you don't even care like what people say are like reacting. That honestly, it goes from being such a focus like on your mind, and I'm not sure if that was how it was for you, but you did mention like you were done with being afraid. But what I obviously one of the things that holds people back so much is being so afraid of like what people are going to say, what people are going to think, and that's like literally, I think 95% of the fears that are going on inside your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
To have it go from that to you when you just own it fully, and then because you feel so comfortable like that now, I'm not even bothered. Like, I'm not even asking to like for someone to be like, oh, it looks really good, or oh, it doesn't look good, or you look better before, or you look way better now. Like, I'm not even worried about it, like, because I feel good. I think that's one of the best things about it, definitely.
Yeah. It's like you become super comfortable and super confident under your own skin, that you just it's like, if people were to judge you the way you are, you just don't care. I think that's like a superpower nowadays, because a lot of people like to judge, and it's definitely a way to just give you that power, for yourself, and not even for others, it's for yourself. It's like self empowering.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, the action of like shaving off the hair is like that. You're like bringing back that control and that power. You're like taking it back, because it had gone whilst you were in that sort of negative space with the
Yeah.
hair loss
Yeah.
happening to you. And you kind
Yeah.
of really, when you make that decision to take it off, you kind of just take that back and more.
Yeah, most definitely. It was definitely a shift that I was looking for, and and it worked, and it's still working.
Good.
I I don't see myself ever like trying to grow out my hair again and anything like that. Just keep it short or shave it. You know, it's awesome. Like I'm like happy about it more than anything.
That shift, you know,
Yeah.
looking back on what it was like at one point, such a negative to how it is now, it almost seems impossible. And I think that's why I obviously continue to do this, share these stories, because there's every day, you know, there's more and more guys that are going through this, that are in that headspace where they, you know, where they're feeling the complete opposite at the moment. You know, they're thinking like, dude, how can these guys be talking here on this damn Zoom call about how happy they are now being bold, you know?
Yeah.
I was there, like impossible. I thought that's impossible. Like these dudes are crazy, but but it's, you know, but it's not, it's genuinely not. And I just think that is the fear, you know, that is the fear. Like you're talking yourself into that space. But you can get through it, dudes. That's what we're here talking about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think I gotta mention that I really appreciate what you're doing. You know,
Thank you,
for
man.
a lot of guys on here. If I were to give advice to someone that's going through like this, that they're in that dark place that we're talking about, is to be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Just, I think that's one of the things that we always have to remind ourselves, especially when we're going through that dark place, is be gentle with yourself. You know, I always wanted to be like, shave that shit, just shave it. But you know what? Everyone has their pace. Like we were talking about, everyone, like if you need to take your time with it, to accept it, or to finally shave it, take your time with it. You know, everyone has their own pace. um but yeah, if I were to give advice, it would be, don't be so hard on yourself, don't beat yourself up. It's not, it's not a big deal as what you perceive it to be where you're at right now. I always looked at guys like when they reach that point where they're happy with like being bald. I'm just, and you I agree with you. I was just like, these guys are nuts, like what the hell. And I think it's just a mindset that you gain, you know, after you do it. And it's just it creates something inside of you. Like it's kind of hard to articulate, but something does happen to you, and something good happens to you when you do it. You know, no doubt about that.